Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
The story at the bottom there, stop calling Brexit voters racist, says the equality watchdog.
Yes, and quite rightly, because not everybody who voted for Brexit is a racist. 17 million people voted for Brexit, and they can't possibly all be racist because the world's not that awful. Unfortunately, all racists are Brexit voters, because no racist, no properly committed, definite, dyed-in-the-wool racist is going to be voting to remain in the EU, are they? So part of what they're saying here is that the race equality people are asking us not to call racist racist anymore in case it offends them fundamentally. They've written a memo to some politicians asking them to tone down their rhetoric in the wake of Brexit, which is kind of ironic. They really should have asked them to tone down the rhetoric before Brexit, perhaps. They might have had a slightly fairer referendum debate on both sides. Who knows, maybe even a different result. It also says in the memo they've written that our elected representatives and the media should reflect and foster the best values in society and engage people on contentious issues in a responsible, considered way. We should have accurate information and respectful debate. I don't believe we've had any of those things of late, so it's a shame they didn't send this memo a bit sooner.
I mean, I think what's interesting, I think this article does highlight what has become a genuine dilemma for mainstream politicians now, because on the one hand, obviously there is the plea for civility within political discourse, and obviously I think that's something we would all agree with. But I think as we saw in the Brexit campaign, as we saw in the American presidential election, we'll see this in the French presidential election as it comes up. Whilst I absolutely agree, it's foolish and inaccurate to simply dismiss large swathes of voters as racist. It's quite clear there are politicians and campaigners who are still exploiting racism, fears over immigration, and there is a genuine dilemma now about how do you actually confront that? Because on the one hand, obviously you cannot simply run around. This is something I'm constantly told in my debates on Twitter in response to my articles. You can't simply run around calling people racist willy-nilly. But equally, when you do have sort of Donald Trump saying, I want to ban all Muslims from the country, or you look at some of the posters that were put up sort of demonising immigrants during the Brexit campaign, you can't simply sit back and just say, oh, well, we'll just give that a pass. And I think that is, as I say, the genuine dilemma now for centrist politicians, across the political spectrum.
I mean, it just strikes me as fairly lazy analysis on either side of the Atlantic, labelling all Trump supporters racist, labelling all Brexiteers racist. And let's be fair, some of the invective that's come from the Remain side, particularly post-EU referendum, has been pretty horrific as well.
Yeah, it's been lazy on all sides. But when you do see a bit of genuine racism, or something that is genuinely quite worrying, such as, for example, that when Nigel Farage stood in front of that poster of migrants in Slovenia saying that Britain was at breaking point, which was so reminiscent of posters from Nazi Germany in the 1930s. There's no reason...
Was that intentional, though?
Who knows? How could someone have missed that? And a huge campaign and the whole body of people who are preparing that poster, to let that one slide. I mean, you've got to, at the very least, you've got to point out that it has some similarities to these other posters. And there people were criticised even for saying that.
But also, I mean, we obviously had the example. I think it was this week of Trump supporters who were filmed greeting his election victory with Nazi salutes. Now, how do we respond to that? Do we simply ignore it, or do we actually? Well, exactly. But I mean, literally,
that was the meeting of the alt-right.
Exactly.
To be fair, but I mean, that's a small subset of supporters for Trump.
No, it was, but absolutely. But we've been told these are the people who helped guide him to victory. Now you're saying, how can you ask the question? And I understand why you're asking it, but the article's there. People are asking the question now. People are asking the question, and that's an indication, I think, quite a worrying indication of where this debate is heading.
Well, the fact that you have to stop and ask, do we call racist racist, or is it too mean to the racist to call them racist anymore, in itself just shows that the Liberals and the left and the normal, standard, everyday people as well, people in the middle, don't know where they're coming or going.